Hello, my name is Cameron Fuller. I'm 33 years old, still single and currently a shipbuilder in Mississippi. A vast river-laden land where mighty rivers like the Mississippi flow relentlessly, carrying the humid breath of the American South. The old shipyards line the riverbanks, filled with the deafening clang of hammers, the sound of waves lapping, and the scent of freshly cut wood. I was born and raised in Bangor, Maine, a small, chilly town in the northeast where winters drag on with heavy snowfall and life revolves around dense forests and icy rivers. My family is still there. My aging parents, my older sister Olivia, who has since moved to Seattle, and my younger brother Brady, the baby of the family who always seems to be at the center of everything. I'm the middle child, stuck in a position that's never quite stood out, like a faint shadow between two polar opposites. Olivia, a few years older than me, has always been strong and independent, guiding me through tough times since we were kids. And Brady, well, Brady is a whole different story. From a young age, life for Olivia and me was much harsher than it was for Brady. We had to grow up fast, doing our own laundry, cooking our own meals, and studying without anyone hovering over us. Our parents were busy. Dad worked as a lumberjack and Mom was a nurse at the local hospital, so they always told us we had to grow up and fend for ourselves. But with Brady, everything was different. He came along late and was pampered from the moment he was born. Brady was a crybaby, throwing tantrums whenever things didn't go his way, and he had a knack for talking his way out of trouble, always managing to get forgiven for his mistakes. I can still hear my parents saying, "When Brady's still young, let him learn slowly." But that young phase seemed to stretch on forever even as he grew older. One childhood memory stands out, etched into my mind like a deep scar, always reminding me of that unfairness. It was a summer afternoon when I was 10 years old and the family was preparing dinner. Brady, only 4 at the time, was running around the kitchen mischievously, clutching a glass milk bottle. I was sitting at the table trying to focus on a tough math problem. Suddenly a loud crash rang out. The milk bottle shattered and milk spilled all over the floor. Brady stood there, pale-faced, and started wailing. Mom rushed in, saw the mess, and instead of asking what happened, she turned to me. "Cameron, why didn't you watch your brother? You're older. How could you let him break something like this?" I was stunned, stammering, I was doing my homework. I didn't." But Dad cut in, his voice stern. "Don't argue. You're the older brother. You're responsible. Clean it up and no candy tonight." Meanwhile, Mom scooped Brady into her arms, soothing him. "Stop crying, sweetheart. It's okay. Cameron will clean it up." In that moment, I could only swallow my tears, kneeling on the floor to clean up the mess. My heart pounded with anger and humiliation, but I didn't dare say a word. It wasn't the first time, nor would it be the last. Brady always got off scot-free, while Olivia and I were blamed for everything. We learned to stay silent, to endure, because arguing only made things worse. Olivia would often pull me out to the backyard and whisper, "Don't be sad. One day we'll get out of here." And she did. She moved to Seattle right after graduating college, building a life of her own. As for me, I tried to escape that shadow of favoritism by moving out at 18. It was a decision filled with both excitement and anxiety. I remember the night before I left, lying in bed, my heart racing as I thought about the uncertain future. My parents didn't object, but they didn't encourage me either. They just said, "You're grown, make your own choices." I left Bangor with a small suitcase, a few $100s saved from part-time jobs, and a vague dream of becoming a shipbuilder, a trade I'd loved since I was a kid, watching wooden boats drift along the river with my dad. The bus ride took me south, through endless roads, the cold Maine winds giving way to the humid air of Mississippi. I arrived here with nothing, working tirelessly at the shipyard to learn the craft. Those early days were brutal, blistered hands, aching back, but I gritted my teeth and pushed through, because I knew if I didn't stand on my own, I'd be forever trapped in that cycle of unfairness. Now let me tell you about my current life, where old wounds still smolder but are masked by the steady rhythm of daily work, as solid as the boats I build. I live in Mississippi, a vast land of rivers where the Mississippi winds like a giant dragon, carrying fertile silt in sudden storms. My small town sits along the riverbank, with muddy streets after rain, the chorus of frogs at night, and the musty smell of rotting wood mingling with the scent of fresh grass. It's not a glamorous place, but it's real, just like my life, unpolished, built on sweat and effort. My job is as a traditional shipbuilder at a small yard called Riverwood Shipyard, about 10 miles from my home. Every day I wake up at the crack of dawn, before the sun has a chance to paint the river red. I brew a strong cup of black coffee and sit by the window, watching the river and listening to the gentle lapping of water against the shore, like a whispered comfort. Then I drive my old creaky pickup truck along the red dirt road to the shipyard. The air there is always alive, the sharp clang of hammers, the screech of saws cutting through wood, and the pungent smell of pine resin. We build handmade wooden boats, not modern ships with massive engines, but fishing boats, rowboats, and even small yachts for river tours. Workdays stretch to 12 hours, sometimes longer if there's a rush order. My hands are calloused from wielding hammers and chisels. My back aches from hours of bending, and my skin is tanned under the relentless southern sun. On rainy days, when the river rises and floods threaten the yard, we scramble to keep it dry, dragging heavy planks through the mud. It's exhausting. But when a boat is finished and glides onto the river for the first time, I feel a surge of pride. It's like a piece of my soul, sturdy, resilient, and ready to face the storms. I remember one time we got an order to build a sailboat for a wealthy old man from New Orleans. He wanted it perfect, with intricate carved patterns. I was in charge of the hull, working late under fluorescent lights until my hands trembled from fatigue. But I didn't stop. When the boat finally floated on the river, the old man clapped me on the shoulder and said, "You did good, son. This boat will carry me through many a storm." My heart raced with joy, but there was a bitter undertone. I wondered if my parents had ever been proud of me like that. Or did they only see me as the middle child, dependable, always ready to help without asking for anything in return? Speaking of family, I still keep in touch with my parents, though the distance, both physical and emotional, has grown. They're still in Bangor, Maine, in the old wooden house where I grew up. Dad's retired now, his back hunched from years as a lumberjack. Mom still works part-time as a nurse, but her health is fading with age. Their income is meager, barely enough to get by. So I send them money every month. It's not much, about $500, but it covers their utilities, medications, or fixes for their leaky roof. I don't do it out of duty, but out of love, though it's been diluted by old injustices. Each month I transfer the money through the bank with a short message. "Here's this month's money. Hope you're doing okay." They usually respond with a brief call, asking about my job or the weather, but rarely diving into anything deeper. I know they appreciate it, but sometimes I wonder if they realize how much I'm sacrificing. And then there's Brady, my 27-year-old brother, still living with our parents like an overgrown child. He just got fired from an auto shop in Bangor for his bad attitude, arguing with customers, slacking off, and always claiming they don't understand me. I heard about it through a call from Mom, her voice laced with worry but still protective. "Brady's really upset, Cam. He was wronged. His boss was just too harsh." I listened, my heart tightening with familiarity. Brady's still coddled even as an adult. Our parents cook for him, do his laundry, even give him pocket money. He doesn't have to fend for himself like Olivia or me. Everything's handed to him. I know because Olivia fills me in during our video calls. She's in Seattle, working as a programmer, living a busy but stable life. "Brady's at it again, Cam," she says, her voice weary. "Mom and Dad still treat him like he's 10. I know all of it, but I tell myself, every family has someone like that. It's how I comfort myself to keep the anger from boiling over. But deep down, it still simmers. Some nights after a long shift, I sit by the river with a cold beer, watching the current rush by. I think about Brady, how he squanders opportunities while I've had to fight for every step. My heart beats faster. My breath quickens with the effort to hold it in. Why does he always get a free pass? Why am I the one carrying the load? But then I take a deep breath and remind myself, you're free now, Cam. Don't let the past drag you down. My life now, tough as it is mine. No one interferes, no one plays favorites. Lately, work at the shipyard has been busier. We've taken on orders from tourism companies, building kayaks for river tours. I'm a team leader now, guiding the younger workers. They look up to me, calling me Steady Cam, and it warms my heart, making up for what I lack from family. On weekends, I go fishing alone, casting my line by the river, listening to the whispering wind. That's when I think about the future. Maybe buying a small plot of land, starting my own shipyard, or even finding a woman to share my life with. I've been single for a long time. Not because I don't want love, but because I'm afraid it might bring the same unfairness I knew growing up. But sometimes in those quiet moments, I dream of a different life, one where things are fairer. I don't call home often, but Mom calls me, her voice frail over the line. "You doing okay, Cam? We miss you." I say I'm fine, ask about Brady, and she always shares cheerful stories about him, as if covering up the truth. Brady's about to get a new job, he's so smart. I force a smile, my heart stinging. I know he'll mess up again and our parents will shield him. But I still send the money, still keep in touch, because that's what blood ties do. They bind you whether you want them to or not. That's my life now. Steady but solitary, proud but scarred. I never expected a call from Mom would pull me back into the past, stirring up conflicts I thought I'd buried. Thanksgiving is coming, and with it, events that shake my heart, from joy to pain, leading my story into a dramatic turn. For now, though, I'll just say that no matter how calm life seems, undercurrents are always lurking, waiting for a chance to rise. Everything began on a late autumn afternoon in Mississippi, when golden leaves started falling gently along the riverbank, carrying the rare chill of the South. I had just finished a long shift at the shipyard, my body exhausted, clothes steeped in the scent of fresh wood and pine resin. My hands still trembled slightly from wielding a hammer for 12 hours, finishing the frame of a new kayak. I drove home, the red dirt road muddy from a light rain, the radio playing an old country song about lonely men by the river. I thought about the upcoming weekend, maybe fishing alone, casting my line and forgetting all my troubles. But then, my phone rang, shattering my thoughts. The screen read, "Mom calling." My heart skipped a beat. Calls from Mom were usually brief, checking on my health or talking about Brady, but this time her voice sounded different, warmer, tinged with a hint of worry. "Cam, are you okay? I miss you so much," she began, her voice trembling over the line. I pulled over to the side of the road, turned off the radio, and tried to keep my tone steady. "I'm fine, Mom, just busy with work. How's Dad?" She shared some small updates. Dad's back was aching due to the cold Maine weather. The backyard was covered in fallen leaves, and then she got to the point. "Thanksgiving's coming up, Cam. Come home, will you? Let's have the whole family together. It's been so long since you've been back." I went silent for a few seconds, my heart pounding. Thanksgiving, a family holiday. But for me, it always brought back memories of awkward dinners where Brady was the center of attention and I was just a shadow. I hadn't been home in 3 years, not since the last time when Brady caused trouble and I had to swallow my anger in silence. "Mom, I'm busy with work." I hesitated, but she cut in, her voice more pleading. "Brady's really down, Cam. He just lost his job and he's in low spirits. He needs his family to lift him up. Olivia can't come, she's tied up in Seattle. It's just you, Cam. Please come home, I'm begging you." Her words felt like a knife gently slicing into an old wound. Brady's down? He needs support? I knew full well he'd been fired for his bad attitude. but our parents always found ways to cover for him. My heart pounded, my breath quickened with a mix of anger and pity. Why was it my job to go back and support him? I'd been sending money every month, listening to stories about him over the phone, and now they wanted me to return and face the past. I thought of Olivia. She'd called me the week before, warning me, "Don't go back if you're not ready, Cam. Mom and Dad still favor Brady like always." She was in Seattle, working as a programmer for a big company, her life busy with her husband and kids, unable to fly to Maine. If I didn't go, it would just be Mom, Dad, and Brady, a lonely holiday. I took a deep breath, trying to suppress my emotions. "I'll think about it, Mom," I said, but she pressed on. "Promise me, Cam. I'll make your favorite turkey and pumpkin pie." Her frail voice softened my heart. They were my parents, after all. I told myself it would just be a short trip, a few days of enduring before I could leave. "All right, Mom, I'll come," I finally agreed, my voice slightly shaky. After the call, I sat in the truck for a long time, watching the Mississippi River flow under the fading light of dusk. My heart was still racing, a strange sense of anticipation welling up. Was this a mistake? I wondered, but I decided to act. That night, after a quick shower and a makeshift dinner of a ham sandwich, I opened my laptop. I searched for flights from Mississippi to Bangor, Maine, a connecting flight. Nearly 8 hours, not cheap but affordable with my savings. I booked a round-trip ticket, leaving 2 days before Thanksgiving and returning right after. Done. I let out a sigh of relief, but the unease lingered. To make the trip more meaningful, I decided to buy gifts for my parents. Not anything extravagant, but thoughtful gifts to show I cared. I spent the next evening thinking about what to get. For Dad, a former lumberjack who loved handcrafted things, I chose a high-quality wood-carving knife from an online store. I had his name engraved on the handle. For Dad, from Cameron. It wasn't cheap, about $150, but I pictured him enjoying it, carving small projects in the garden. For Mom, who loved her morning coffee, I picked a compact, easy-to-use coffee maker and a bag of premium Mississippi coffee beans. I wrapped the gifts carefully, writing a card. "I miss you both. Hope this small gift brings some warmth." After buying them, I felt lighter, as if the trip now had a purpose. But that night, sleep was restless. I dreamed of childhood, of being unfairly blamed, of Brady crying and being comforted. I woke up in the middle of the night, heart pounding, sweating. Just a few days, I told myself, but deep down, I knew a storm was brewing. The departure day arrived faster than I expected. I took leave from the shipyard and my co-workers patted my shoulder. "Have a good trip home, Cam." I flew from a small airport in Mississippi with a layover in Atlanta, landing in Bangor on a chilly evening. Maine's air greeted me with biting wind and light snow, a stark contrast to the warm humidity of the South. I rented a car and drove home, the familiar road flanked by dark pine forests. My heart beat faster with every mile, a mix of anticipation and anxiety. When I arrived, the old wooden house appeared under the dim glow of streetlights, smoke rising from the chimney, the faint smell of burning wood in the air. I took a deep breath and knocked. Mom opened the door and hugged me tightly. "My boy's home." Dad stood behind her, patting my shoulder. "It's been a while, Cam." Brady was on the sofa, grinning widely. "You're back? Awesome!" But his smile felt forced, and I noticed right away he looked tired, his eyes red as if he'd been crying. The atmosphere in the house was awkward from the start. A late dinner of hot soup and bread was served, and everyone asked about my job. But the conversation quickly turned to Brady. "He's going through a tough time, Cam," Mom whispered while washing dishes. "He needs his family's support." I nodded, but my heart tightened. Brady talked about his old job, blaming his boss, and our parents nodded in agreement. I stayed silent, swallowing my frustration as I always had. That night, lying in my old bed in my childhood room, I stared at the ceiling, listening to the wind howl outside. A sense of anticipation surged, Tomorrow was Thanksgiving, the big meal, the gift exchange. I hoped things would go smoothly, but a gut feeling told me otherwise. Thanksgiving morning, the house felt cozier with the smell of roasting turkey and pumpkin pie wafting through the air. Mom bustled in the kitchen, Dad sat reading the newspaper, and Brady helped a bit but mostly fiddled with his phone. I pitched in, chopping vegetables and setting the table, trying to create a cheerful mood. The meal began at noon, and we sat around the old wooden table, holding hands for the traditional prayer. "Thank you, Lord, for bringing our family together," Dad said, his voice emotional. I smiled, but my heart was heavy with worry. After eating, it was time for the gift exchange, the moment I'd been looking forward to. I presented my gifts to my parents first. "This is for you, Dad," I said, handing him the engraved carving knife. His eyes lit up briefly. "Thanks, son, it's nice." But his tone was perfunctory, like it was just a formality. Then Mom with the coffee maker, "Oh, this is great, I'll use it." She gave me a quick hug, but it lacked the warmth I'd hoped for. My heart stung slightly. Did they even appreciate it? Or was it just a gift from the dependable middle child? Then it was Brady's turn. My parents exchanged a secretive smile. "Son, this is for you," Mom said, handing him a thick envelope. Brady opened it, his eyes widening. Plane tickets and a voucher for a European trip, Paris, Rome, London, worth over $15,000. "To help you unwind after getting fired," Dad explained, his voice full of affection. Brady cheered, hugging our parents tightly. "Thank you, Mom and Dad, this is amazing." The room erupted with their laughter, hugs, and talk of the trip. I sat there, forcing a smile, but my heart pounded with shock. $15,000, an enormous sum, when they always claimed to be strapped for cash, and I was sending them money every month. And me? Mom turned to me, handing me a $2 lottery ticket. "This is for you, Cam. Maybe it'll change your life." She laughed as if it were a joke, but her words cut like a knife. I took the ticket, forcing a smile. "Thanks, Mom." But inside I felt a sharp pang of hurt, like I was excluded, belittled. Why did Brady get a lavish trip while I got a joke? My heart raced with anger, but I stayed silent, swallowing my tears. The holiday ended with their laughter, while a storm raged in my chest. Back in my room, I collapsed onto the bed, clutching the lottery ticket tightly. Anticipation and pain swirled together. Was this trip a mistake? I called Olivia on a video call, my voice trembling as I recounted everything. She comforted me. "Cam, you know how they are. They've always been like this." But the pain didn't fade. The next day I flew back to Mississippi, my heart heavy with new scars. I didn't expect that the next discovery would ignite everything, leading to even fiercer conflicts. The flight back to Mississippi dragged on endlessly, with gray clouds outside the airplane window reflecting my mood. I sat huddled in my seat, listening to sad country music through my headphones, trying to shake off the images from yesterday's Thanksgiving dinner. The $2 lottery ticket was still in my wallet, a bitter reminder of my place in the family, a joke, something cheap while Brady was gifted all of Europe. My heart still raced with anger, but I told myself to forget it, to return to my daily life at the shipyard. When the plane landed, the familiar humid air of Mississippi welcomed me, but this time, it brought no peace. I drove home, the red dirt road muddy after the rain, and as soon as I stepped into my small house by the river, I felt utterly drained. I tossed my suitcase into the corner, brewed a cup of black coffee, and sat at the kitchen table, gazing out at the river rushing under the fading light of dusk. To shake off the gloom, I decided to check my bank account, a monthly habit to ensure everything was in order. I opened the app on my phone, entered the password, and scrolled through recent transactions. The usual expenses appeared: gas, groceries, and the transfer to my parents from the week before. But then my eyes froze on an unfamiliar transaction, a withdrawal of $15,000 dated just before Thanksgiving. My heart pounded, my breath quickened. $15,000, the exact amount for Brady's European trip that my parents had given him. I checked again, hoping it was a system error. But no. The transaction was clear. A transfer to a travel company with the note "Trip for Brady." Blood rushed to my head, my hands trembling as I held the phone. This was my savings account, the one I'd authorized my parents to access a few years ago when they were in financial trouble and I wanted to help quickly. I thought it was a gesture of trust, but now it felt like a stab of betrayal. I sat there, staring at the screen, a wave of feeling exploited crashing over me like a raging tide. Had they taken my money to pay for Brady's trip? Money I'd earned from grueling days at the shipyard, with blistered hands and an aching back. I remembered all the monthly transfers, thinking they helped my parents live more comfortably, but it turned out they were just a source for them to spoil Brady. My heart shook violently, anger mixed with pain. I wasn't their son, I was an automatic bank, always ready for them to withdraw without asking. Tears rolled down my face, not from sadness, but from fury. I took a deep breath, trying to calm down, then dialed Mom. The phone rang a few times and her voice answered, sounding cheerful as if nothing was wrong. "Cam, is that you? Did you make it home? I'm just cleaning up after the holiday." I didn't beat around the bush, my voice trembling but resolute. "Mom, why did you withdraw $15,000 from my account?" That was for Brady's trip, wasn't it? There was silence on the other end for a few seconds, then she stammered. "Well, I just borrowed it temporarily, Cam. Brady was so down after losing his job, your dad and I wanted to cheer him up. Don't worry, I'll pay it back gradually." That admission hit me like a punch to the chest. Borrowed temporarily? Without asking? Without a thank you? I raised my voice, cracking with emotion. "What do you think I am? A money printer? I work my ass off to send money to support you two. Not to buy trips for Brady. Why do you always prioritize him?" I'm excluded, belittled. Mom snapped back, her voice even louder. "How dare you talk to me like that?" I said, "I'll pay it back. Don't be so childish." But her excuses only fueled my anger. I hung up, my hand gripping the phone until my knuckles turned white. The feeling of being used spread through my body like a feverish heat. I stood up, pacing the house, my heart racing. Not being respected, that was the deepest pain. From childhood, I'd endured, becoming independent to escape the favoritism, but now it was chasing me through the numbers on my account. I thought back to my youth, Brady breaking the milk bottle, me getting blamed unfairly, Brady misbehaving, me having to stay silent. And now, Brady loses his job and I have to pay the price? No, enough. I opened my computer immediately, logged into online banking and revoked my parents' access. Just a few clicks, but each one made my heart pound with determination. No more authorization, they couldn't withdraw my money at will anymore. Done. I slumped into the chair, breathing heavily, feeling like I'd just run a marathon. This was the first step in protecting myself, but I knew the storm wasn't over. Sure enough, just a few hours later, my phone rang nonstop. First it was Dad, his voice stern. "Cam, why did you lock the account?" "We need money to fix the roof." I took a deep breath and responded calmly but firmly. "Dad, I know everything. Mom withdrew my money for Brady's trip. I'm not a bank anymore. From now on, I'll only support fixed expenses, medications, utility bills. I'll transfer directly to the providers. No more free cash." Dad went silent, then exploded in anger. "You ungrateful brat. We raised you and now you're nickel and diming us?" His words cut like a knife, but I didn't waver. "Dad, I've been supporting you for years, but I need respect. If you keep favoring Brady, I can't continue like this." I hung up, my heart pounding with anxiety. This was the first time I'd confronted them directly, no longer silently enduring. Next was Mom, on a video call with tears in her eyes. "Cam, don't be mad at me. I was wrong, but Brady needs—" I cut her off, my voice shaking but steady. "Mom, enough. Brady's 27. He needs to stand on his own. I'm not responsible for him anymore. If you keep this up, I'll cut everything off." She sobbed, begging, but I ended the call. my mind in turmoil. Guilt mixed in. They were my parents, after all, but I couldn't let them exploit me forever. That night I lay awake, listening to the river lapping outside the window. Anticipation surged. Would they understand? Or resent me? I called Olivia, spilling everything, and she supported me. "You did the right thing, Cam. Don't go soft." But the pain still simmered like an unhealed wound. In the days that followed, messages from my parents flooded in, pleading one moment, accusing the next. Brady texted too. "Bro, why are you being so selfish? I need that trip to lift my spirits." I read them, my heart tightening, but didn't reply. I focused on work at the shipyard, building boats with double the intensity as if to vent my anger. Each hammer strike was an affirmation. I wouldn't be a victim anymore. My life in Mississippi gradually stabilized, but the scar from that discovery ran deep. I never expected that just a few days later. An unexpected twist would upend everything. The cheap lottery ticket would become the key to a different future, bringing joy mixed with irony, leading the story into fresh and more dramatic conflicts. In the days after locking the account and declaring limits on my support, my life returned to its familiar rhythm, but with a brittle shell, easily shattered. I woke up early each morning, brewed strong black coffee, and drove to the shipyard, where the clang of hammers and the scent of fresh wood helped me temporarily forget the accusing calls from my parents. My co-workers noticed the change. I was quieter, working more relentlessly, as if venting my anger on every piece of wood. "Cam, something wrong?" a young apprentice asked, but I just forced a smile. "Nothing, just family stuff." My heart still ached faintly whenever I thought about the withdrawn money, Brady's European trip, and the $2 lottery ticket in my wallet. The "maybe it'll change your life" gift Mom had given with a joking smile. I nearly threw it away a few times, but ended up stuffing it deep into a drawer, like a bitter reminder of my place. A few days passed, and on a stormy evening in Mississippi, with the river rising and crashing against the banks, I sat alone in the house, a cold beer in hand. The downpour reminded me of childhood nights in Maine, when the wind howled through the pine forests and I'd lie awake feeling humiliated. To shake off the melancholy, I scrolled through my phone, reading local news about a massive lottery jackpot just announced. $52 million unclaimed. I smirked. Who could be that lucky? Then, like a fleeting thought, I remembered the lottery ticket. "Just check for fun," I told myself, pulling it out of the drawer. My hand trembled slightly as I opened the lottery app on my phone and entered the serial number. The screen loaded slowly due to the rain weakening the signal, and my heart beat a little faster, even though I knew the odds of winning were practically zero. The first number matched, then the second, the third. My heart started pounding, my breath quickening. "No way," I muttered, sitting up straight. The fourth, the fifth, all perfect matches, and the last one, a hit. The screen flashed "winner" in blinking letters, along with the figure of $52 million. I sat there stunned, the beer can slipping from my hand and spilling across the floor. Shock spread through my body like a raging wave. My heart raced wildly, my hands and feet went cold, my mind spun. "Did I win?" I whispered, checking the ticket again, comparing each number carefully. It was all correct. $52 million, an enormous sum, enough to change not just my life, but anyone's. But joy didn't come immediately. Instead, confusion washed over me. I stood up, pacing the room, sweat beading despite the cool rain. What now? Who to tell? I thought of stories in the news, people who won big only to lose it all to friends, family, or bad investments. My heart shook violently, a mix of excitement and fear. And then irony surged like an underground river. That cheap lottery ticket, the joke gift from my parents, handed over with a half-serious quip, had now become a massive fortune. They'd given it as a paltry consolation, while pouring real money into Brady. Now it had turned me into a millionaire. I laughed out loud, the sound echoing in the small house, mingled with tears. "How ironic," I murmured, slumping into the chair. Life sometimes plays tricks on you in the most unexpected ways. After a few minutes of overwhelming shock, I decided not to act rashly. I took a deep breath, trying to calm down, and immediately called Olivia, the only person I trusted completely. The phone rang a few times, then her voice came through from Seattle, sounding tired after a shift. "Cam? It's late. What's up?" I swallowed, my voice trembling. "Sis, I won the lottery. $52 million. The ticket Mom gave me." Silence on the other end. Then she screamed, "What? Are you kidding? Tell me everything." I recounted it all, from checking for fun to the moment of shock. She listened, then burst out laughing. "Oh my God, Cam, you're rich. But listen to me, keep your mouth shut. Don't tell anyone, not even Mom and Dad. If your identity leaks, it'll be big trouble." My heart raced faster as she advised, "Handle it through a lawyer. I know one in Mississippi who specializes in big prizes. They'll help you set up a trust, claim anonymously, avoid taxes and fortune hunters." I nodded even though she couldn't see, feeling somewhat relieved. "Thanks, sis. I'm freaking out." We talked for another hour. She shared stories of lottery winners who failed and advised me to plan. Invest, donate, but first, protect myself. After the call, I couldn't sleep. That night, the rain pattered on the roof, and I lay staring at the ceiling, my mind swirling with thoughts. $52 million, I could buy my own shipyard, travel the world, help those in need. But the irony lingered. Without that ticket, my life would have stayed ordinary, full of scars from family. Now it felt like fate's compensation. The next morning, I contacted the lawyer Olivia recommended, an elderly, gaunt man named Mr. Harlan with an office downtown. I drove there, heart pounding, the ticket hidden securely in my pocket. He listened to my story, his eyes lighting up. "Congratulations, son, but we have to be careful. Mississippi allows anonymous claims through trusts." We worked all morning setting up a trust under a fake name, preparing paperwork to claim the prize without revealing my identity. "Move," he advised. "Don't stay in your old place or old friends will come knocking." I nodded, feeling like I was living in a movie, tense, dramatic, with every step carrying the fear of discovery. In the days waiting to receive the money, I lived like a sleepwalker. I went to work at the shipyard, but my mind was elsewhere. I nearly ruined a boat due to distraction. Coworkers joked, "Cam, did you win the lottery or something?" They were kidding, but I forced a smile, my heart clenching. I started planning a move, finding a small apartment in the suburbs, hiding my real identity by using the trust name for all transactions. The money hit the account after a week, $52 million. Minus taxes, leaving about $35 million, but still an immense figure. I stared at the balance on the banking app, hands shaking, the feeling unreal. True joy came then. I could be free. No more financial worries, no more sending money to my parents the old way. But the irony remained. That cheap gift from them was now the source of it all. News of the lottery win began to spread like a gentle breeze at first, then quickly turned into a storm. Initially, it was just local newspaper articles in Mississippi, vaguely describing a single man, a craftsman, who migrated from the north to the south, winning the $52 million jackpot. They didn't name me, thanks to the anonymous trust fund that lawyer Harlan had set up. But the details matched too perfectly: age, occupation, place of residence. I read those articles on my phone, my heart pounding, wondering if anyone would recognize me. Then the news spread to social media, with local forums buzzing. "Who's that lucky guy?" "Probably that shipbuilder at Riverwood." I tried to stay calm, but each casual comment felt like a subtle knife cut, reminding me that my secret was teetering. I never expected the news to reach all the way to Maine. Just a few days after the money hit my account, my phone started ringing nonstop. It began with Mom, her voice trembling over the line. "Cam? Is it you? I read the news. Someone won the lottery in Mississippi just like you, a shipbuilder, 33 years old, single from Maine. Is it you? Tell Mom the truth. My heart raced like a drum, my breath quickening. I stayed silent for a few seconds, trying to find words, but she continued. I know it. That lottery ticket I gave you for Thanksgiving, right? Oh my God, my boy. She laughed loudly, but I could hear the excitement mixed with calculation. I took a deep breath, keeping my voice steady. Mom, I don't know anything about it. But she didn't stop, her voice rising. Don't hide it, Cam. Dad and I see all the matches, job, age. Even the articles mention he sends money to support his family. That's you. That call opened the floodgates to a barrage of relentless calls, like waves crashing one after another against the shore. Dad called right after, his voice stern but full of hope. Cam, if it's really you who won, that's great. Our family can escape hardship now. Your mom and I are old. Brady's unemployed. You have to think about the family. Brady joined in, texting nonstop. Bro, if you really won, congrats. But don't forget me, okay? Share a bit. I need money urgently. My heart shook violently, a mix of fear and anger. They weren't 100% sure, but the coincidences were enough for them to speculate, and now they were calling incessantly, from morning to night. I tried to avoid them, silencing my phone, but emails flooded my inbox. Mom wrote long letters about their recent hardships, about Brady being depressed after losing his job, and ended with, If you won, confirm it, my dear. Then they got straight to the point, demanding half the prize. It happened during a video call that Mom forced me to answer, after texting pleas of just talk for a few minutes. Mom appeared on the screen, her eyes red-rimmed, Dad sitting beside her with a stern expression. Cam, I know you won, she said, her voice pleading. That lottery ticket was a gift from us, bought with our money. So the prize should be split in half. $26 million for you, $26 million for us and Brady. That's fair. My heart pounded, blood rushing to my head. Split in half? Because the ticket was a gift from them. I remembered clearly. That $2 ticket was handed over with the joke, maybe it'll change your life, like an afterthought, while they used my money to gift Brady a $15,000 trip. Now, they saw it as an investment? I shook my head, my voice trembling but resolute. Mom, that won't work. The ticket was a gift given. Now it's mine. The law is on my side. Gifts can't be reclaimed. Dad interrupted, his voice harsh. The law? You're talking law to us? We raised you, sacrificed so much, and now you're rich and nickel and diming? That ticket came from our hands, so half is ours, I explained, trying to stay calm. Dad, I've checked with a lawyer. A lottery ticket is the personal property of the recipient. There's no basis for splitting it. I'll help the family, but in my own way, not by dividing the prize. But they wouldn't listen. Mom started crying. How can you refuse? We're old. Brady needs money to get back on his feet. Do you want us to live in misery? The call ended with her tears and Dad's threat. Think carefully, Cam. Don't disappoint us. I ended the call, my hands shaking uncontrollably, feeling besieged. Anticipation surged. Would they stop or continue? And indeed, when I refused, my parents shifted to emotional pressure. The subsequent calls were no longer pleas but accusations, using harsh words to attack my conscience. Mom called sobbing, You're ungrateful. We raised and educated you, endured so much hardship, and now you win the lottery and abandon us? You're so unfilial, Cam. God will punish you. My heart stung because from childhood, I'd feared being called unfilial the most. That word was like an old wound, reminding me of the times I'd endured silently to keep family peace. Dad was sterner. Who do you think you are? Without us, you'd have nothing. That ticket came from our love, and now you're keeping it all to yourself? That's sinful. Brady joined in, texting angrily. You're really unfilial. I'm in debt. Mom and Dad are worried, and you're hoarding the money for yourself? Share it, or I'll tell all the relatives how ungrateful you are. The pressure felt like boulders weighing on my chest, making it hard to breathe. Each call was an emotional storm, anger at their greed, pain from the accusations and guilt as I wondered if I was wrong. I remembered my childhood, the times I was unfairly blamed, the favoritism toward Brady, and told myself, no, I'm not wrong. They've exploited me enough. I called Olivia, my voice trembling as I spilled everything. She comforted me. Cam, you're doing the right thing. They're just manipulating you. Stay strong. She advised me to block their numbers temporarily and focus on my new life, but the emotional pressure still haunted me, like a shadow pursuing me. I couldn't stay put in Mississippi anymore, a place where everything reminded me of the past, of the rundown shipyard and the relentless calls from Maine. Every morning when I woke up, I'd look out at the rippling river, but instead of peace, I only felt anxiety surging. I decided to quit my job, a decision filled with both anticipation and worry. I called my boss at Riverwood Shipyard, trying to keep my voice steady. I'm resigning, boss. Family emergency. He was surprised, patting my shoulder over the phone. That's a shame, Cam. You're a great worker. If you need to come back, the door's always open. I hung up, my heart tightening with regret. That job had been my pride, the place where I'd poured my childhood endurance into every piece of wood. But now I had to leave to protect myself. Moving wasn't easy. I spent a few days planning, contacting lawyer Harlan to ensure all transactions went through the trust fund, hiding my real identity. I chose a small town in North Carolina, Wilmington, where the Atlantic Ocean's shores were a vibrant blue with peaceful cobblestone streets, the faint scent of sea salt and the gentle roar of waves. Not too far from Mississippi, but far enough to start over. I drove a small truck loaded with my belongings, a few suitcases of clothes, books, and my favorite shipbuilding tools, along endless highways, the wind whipping through the windows. My heart pounded throughout the journey, a mix of nervousness and excitement. Would my parents find out? Was I truly anonymous? Upon arrival, I rented a small wooden house by the beach, with a porch overlooking the vast ocean. The atmosphere here was completely different. Cooler, with the cries of seagulls echoing and the smell of damp sand. I used the alias Chris Ford with the neighbors, introducing myself as an early retired engineer, avoiding any deep questions. At first, everything was peaceful. I'd walk the beach every morning, feeling the fine sand under my feet, listening to the waves crash like a comforting whisper from the sea. But then the shadows from the past caught up. Just a few weeks after moving in, Olivia called me, her voice worried. Cam, Mom and Dad are bad-mouthing you on Facebook. They're posting publicly, complaining about the unfilial son who won the lottery and abandoned his family. My heart jolted, my hand gripping the phone tightly. I opened my laptop, logging into an anonymous account to check, and it was true. Mom's Facebook page was filled with lengthy posts, accompanied by childhood photos of me. My son, who used to be such a good boy, is now rich but has turned his back on his elderly parents. He won big from the ticket we gave him but won't share a penny. How can there be a child like that? Comments poured in from relatives. My youngest aunt wrote, "So disappointing, Cam. You have to think about gratitude." My third uncle said, "This kind of unfilial behavior, heaven will punish you." Brady joined in, posting a story. My brother kept all $52 million, leaving his little brother like me to suffer. What does family mean to him? Relatives took sides. One group supported my parents, the other whispered and gossiped, sending private messages to Olivia for details. The news spread fast, like wildfire across dry grasslands, and even though I wasn't using my real name, everyone in Bangor knew it was about me. I sat there, staring at the flickering screen, my heart pounding with anger and humiliation. They were slandering me publicly, turning me into the villain in the eyes of relatives and old friends. The comments cut like knives. Ungrateful brat. Rich but stingy. Cut ties with him. I felt completely excluded, like an outcast adrift in the ocean. Anticipation surged. Would they find my new address? Would neighbors in Wilmington read it and recognize me? I shut down the computer, stepped out onto the porch, breathing in the salty sea air, trying to hold back tears. Why were they doing this? To pressure me, to force me to give in. But I chose silence. No arguments, no response posts. I knew that reacting would only make things worse. They'd use words to twist deeper into the wound. Instead, I blocked all their accounts on social media, deleted every connection, and focused on my new life. Olivia was the only one I kept in touch with. She video called me weekly from Seattle, her voice warm. "You okay, Cam? Don't let their words get to you." We shared everything, from my investment plans to her family life. She talked about her husband and kids, her busy programming job, and comforted me. The relatives will forget eventually. Live for yourself. Those calls were like a lighthouse in the open sea, keeping me from getting lost. I told her about Wilmington, the morning jogs on the beach, the waves lapping like a lullaby, and the smell of grilled fish from local spots. "Come visit me, sis," I said, and she laughed. "Definitely. But keep the address secret. Don't let Mom and Dad know." We joked around, but deep down, the worry lingered, anticipation about what was coming next. My anonymous life in North Carolina gradually stabilized, but the wound from the slander still simmered. I avoided social media, focusing on my old hobby, building small boat models in the garage, pouring my emotions into every wooden detail. Each boat was a reminder of my journey of endurance. But then through Olivia, I heard news about Brady and the family, events that shook my heart, from concern to disillusionment, leading the story into a new twist full of drama and awakening. Everything began with a video call from Olivia on a windy evening in Wilmington, where the sea breeze blew strongly, carrying the sharp, salty scent through the open window. I was sitting in the garage, chisel in hand, finishing a small sailboat model, the thing that helped me forget the accusations on Facebook. My phone screen lit up and her face appeared, looking tired but worried. "Cam, I have news from home," she said, her voice lowering as if afraid someone might overhear. My heart skipped a beat, a gut feeling telling me this wasn't good news. "Brady, he's back from the European trip, but things are really bad." I stopped what I was doing, sitting up straight, my breath quickening. That trip, the one my parents had used my money to gift him, had now become the start of a new downward spiral. Olivia recounted the details, her voice trembling with a mix of anger and pity. Brady had returned to Maine after 2 weeks of gallivanting in Paris and Rome, spending extravagantly, posting photos on Facebook of expensive wines and luxurious hotels. But instead of lifting his spirits as our parents had hoped, it had led him further astray. "Ever since he heard about you winning the lottery through the news articles and rumors, Brady started changing," she said. "He thinks Mom and Dad or you will bail him out, so he got into gambling. It started with small online bets, then credit card debt. He's convinced Cam's rich now, he'll pay off my debts." My heart tightened, anger surging like the ocean waves outside. Brady, the spoiled youngest sibling, now saw me as a giant ATM. I pictured him sitting in the old wooden house, scrolling on his phone, placing bets with a confident smile, thinking family will take care of it. "How much does he owe?" I asked, my voice hoarse with anticipation. Olivia sighed. "A few thousand at first, now tens of thousands. Mom and Dad hid it from me, but I heard from the neighbors." Anticipation spread through me like a cold fever. I paced the garage, gripping the chisel handle tightly, thinking about the consequences. Brady wasn't the type to know when to stop. From childhood, he'd been used to being forgiven, being rescued. Now, with delusions about my money, he was plunging deeper into the mire. In the days that followed, Olivia updated me. Brady had started borrowing from local loan sharks in Bangor, promising my brother will pay. He gambled at nearby casinos, losing what was left of the trip money, then maxing out credit cards. Our parents knew, but instead of being strict, they covered for him, using their savings to pay off part of the debt, hoping he'll come to his senses. I listened. my heart shaking violently, mixed with worry for them. Despite my anger, I didn't want to see the family fall apart. But disillusionment rose. Why hadn't they taught him independence from the start? Why was it always me who had to bear the indirect consequences? Then everything spiraled down faster than I imagined. About a month later, Olivia called urgently in the middle of the night, her voice panicked. "Cam, Mom and Dad had to mortgage the house to pay off Brady's debts. Brady borrowed from gangsters in Portland, and now they're demanding payment with sky-high interest." My heart jolted as if squeezed tight, my breath racing. Olivia detailed it. Brady was frantic, avoiding them. But they came to the house, banging on the door, threatening our parents. "They said if it's not paid, they'll handle Brady," Olivia whispered. Brady had to go into hiding, fleeing Maine, wandering through small towns, sleeping in an old car, eating haphazardly. He called Olivia begging, "Sis, tell Cam to help me, I promise I'll change." But she refused, advising him to turn himself in or find a job. I listened, my heart pounding relentlessly with fear mixed with disillusionment. Brady, the pampered sibling, had now become a fugitive, dragging the whole family down with him. Our parents were completely devastated. Olivia recounted, "Mom cries all the time. Dad is silent, his back more hunched, unable to sleep from worrying about bank debts and the mafia." They were starting to feel the real consequences of their long-term spoiling. Without Brady around to comfort, they faced the mortgaged house, piling bills, and fear for their wayward youngest son. The family was shattered because of the injustice I'd once endured. I spent the entire night thinking, lying awake listening to the waves crash, my mind swirling with memories. The next morning I decided I would help, but with two strict conditions, like barriers to protect myself and force them to change. I told Olivia to relay the message. Cam agrees to help, but only if Brady voluntarily enters rehab, learns a trade, and commits to no relapses. And Mom and Dad must attend family therapy, learn to treat their children fairly, and never interfere with Cam's finances again. Olivia recounted their reactions. Mom cried with gratitude. Dad nodded silently, though his voice trembled. "We'll accept, son. Just save Brady." My heart stirred. Was this real awakening, or just temporary desperation? Anticipation crept in as I wondered if Brady would comply, given how he'd always been spoiled. Brady, from his hiding spot in a small town near the Canadian border, called Olivia begging, "Sis, I promise I'll go to rehab, just have Cam pay off my debts." But I was firm. He had to register at the center himself first, prove it with paperwork. Through Olivia, he agreed, his voice weak from fear of the mafia. I followed from afar, my heart racing with each update from her. Brady entered a rehab center in Maine, one with a basic auto repair training program. He cried like a kindergartner, but he stayed for the first time, independent without our parents shielding him. As for Mom and Dad, they signed up for family therapy at a local center, sitting in sessions with a counselor, recounting their mistakes, favoring Brady because he was weak, neglecting me and Olivia. Olivia joined a few sessions online and told me, "Mom admitted to exploiting your money. Dad regrets not being fair." I listened, emotions surging, pain from the past, but a glimmer of hope. For the mafia debt, I didn't appear directly. I hired lawyer Harlan to handle it anonymously. He contacted the underworld through back channels, negotiating the payoff with money I transferred via the trust fund. My heart pounded throughout the process. Would they accept? Would Brady be safe? Harlan updated. They demanded high interest, but I pushed it down. The money's transferred. Brady's off the hook. I breathed a sigh of relief, sitting by the beach watching the sunset, feeling like I'd released a heavy burden. Finally, with Brady safe and starting rehab, I sent my parents a gift, a model boat I'd handcrafted in my Wilmington garage. It was a small wooden boat, intricately made with white sails, engraved with endurance on the hull. I wrapped it carefully, shipped it anonymously via mail, with a short note. "This represents the hard days of mine that you once undervalued. Hope it reminds us of fairness." Olivia said. Mom unwrapped it, tears streaming. She held the boat, stroking it like she was hugging you. My heart stirred, not full forgiveness, but a gesture of connection. Anticipation lingered. Would they understand or repeat the mistakes? But for now I felt lighter, as if that boat had shed its own weight. A year passed in a flash, with changes that shook my heart from surprise to warmth. Brady, after completing the rehab program, started working at a small auto shop in Bangor. He learned car repairs, his hands calloused from labor, no longer throwing tantrums or making excuses. Olivia told me, he's changed, Cam, working hard, sending money home monthly, even if it's little. He says, I've learned from you. I smiled sadly hearing it, my heart tightening with irony. Now he was independent like I'd had to be since age 18. Brady called Olivia with an indirect apology. Tell Cam to forgive me, sis. I regret everything. I wasn't ready for direct contact yet, but hope flickered. Maybe he was truly awakened. My parents lived more simply in the house they'd redeemed thanks to the fixed support I sent through the lawyer. Only medications and bills, no cash. They'd somewhat reformed, attending therapy regularly, learning fairness. Mom sent handwritten letters monthly via Olivia, asking about my health, describing the garden. I've planted new flowers, remembering you like blue. Dad wrote briefly, I'm proud of you even if late. Those letters stirred my heart, mixed with joy and caution. They no longer demanded or slandered, just sincere check-ins. I replied through Olivia concisely, I'm fine, hope you're well. Not full forgiveness, but a start. As for me, I bought a small shipyard in Wilmington by the Atlantic shore, where the waves roar blended with hammer strikes, not to get richer, but to create jobs for those who'd gone astray, like youths fallen like Brady or kids forced independent early like me. I hired them, taught handmade shipbuilding, watched them progress. Each day at the yard, seeing boats take shape, I felt proud. This was my legacy, from endurance to sharing. The work was busy but brought peace. My hands calloused again, but this time for a greater purpose. I invested the remaining money wisely. Anonymous charity funds, stable stocks, and a scholarship fund for poor kids in Maine and Mississippi. Olivia visited me one autumn afternoon, bringing a surprise, Mom and Dad. She called ahead. Cam, they want to see you. They promised to respect boundaries. My heart pounded, anticipation surging like that first Thanksgiving homecoming. I agreed, but on conditions. Meet at a beachside cafe, no talk of money. They arrived, Mom hugged me, crying. Son, I'm sorry. Dad patted my shoulder, voice trembling. We were wrong, Cam. We sat talking for hours about childhood, mistakes, the future. Not fully back to old times, the wounds remained. Distance lingered, but a slow, conditional restart. I told them about the shipyard. They listened, eyes lighting up with genuine pride. Brady sent a video greeting, sincere. Bro, thank you. We hugged goodbye, promising to meet again, but I kept distance. No financial access, only contact via letters and Olivia. I suddenly realized life is like a boat on the ocean. Sometimes fierce waves come from loved ones themselves, but endurance and independence will help you through. And if you ask if I have advice for you, it's this. If you're the middle child who's excluded, remember fate has ways to compensate, like that cheap lottery ticket did for me. Looking out at the vast sea, I smile, my heart more at peace than ever. The journey isn't over, but now I'm the captain of my own ship.